Hi there, this is Sarah, and this video is a further development on Durkheim's ideas on religion. So this is focusing on Durkheim's 4 functions of religion that he discovered really from doing his studies, carrying out his studies on the indigenous people, particularly of groups in Australia, Aboriginal groups in Australia. So what Durkheim found, and we've talked already about totems, we've talked about some symbols and some practices being sacred, and we've also talked about this collective significance and of certain things within those groups that Durkheim studied. You know, he noticed that there was this kind of collective significance and this value consensus of people agreeing with the same values. So what he also found from those studies is that he felt there were 4 key functions of religion in society, and these can be really useful for you to use if you are talking about the functions of religion, the purpose of religion. They can be helpful to bring into essays, and then obviously you can cite Durkheim in brackets and use those to back up points that you're making, especially if you're coming from a functionalist perspective about religion playing lots of important parts, and from a functionalist perspective very positive contributions and functions within society. So first of all, we've got discipline. So Durkheim noticed the idea that discipline was religion kind of reinforces rules and an element of kind of self-discipline and kind of people keeping each other in check really, and reminding them of these rules of their religion. And it would be kind of destabilizing if people didn't follow those rules. So it's important to have that kind of general consensus on this set of rules. So discipline is an important way of encouraging people to behave in a certain way. And then we've got cohesion, so the idea that the religion would bring together the group of people. So it kind of, religion really reaffirms the bonds and keeps people kind of together because they have this shared consensus and this shared sense of purpose within their life. So the cohesion is really important for a harmonious society. Vitalization is the idea that religion has this kind of vitalizing effect in that it keeps the traditions and it keeps the values kind of being passed down as a set of beliefs. So rather than kind of losing those, and if you lost them you'd have to revitalise, but it just keeps them vitalised, has this vitalising effect from generation to generation, and keeps those traditions and values very much at the forefront of people's lives. So he felt that religion had that impact and was what kind of kept those traditions going. So you could argue that that really links to the ideas of religion being a conservative force and conserving traditions and values over time as they're passed down through the generations. And finally, the 4th function that Durkheim identified was that of having a euphoric effect, religion having a euphoric effect or playing a euphoric function within society. And really that's the idea of it. People are less likely to kind of lose their faith or worry if there's always someone to kind of remind them, that other people in the community with the same beliefs are always there to remind them that they actually play a part in something much bigger. So the idea of religions is there's always this kind of bigger purpose and this bigger meaning, and that we're just a very small part in a bigger kind of operation that's going on really, in the way that it explains the meaning of life or explains those things that we otherwise maybe wouldn't have an explanation for. So it kind of stops individuals from becoming antisocial because they have this sense that they're playing a bigger part. And it can be quite humbling as well really, to be reminded that you're significant, but you're actually not as significant as the bigger picture. And that then means that there's this euphoric sense of really being part of something bigger and more connecting. So that's Durkheim's 4 functions of religion. And the thing to remember with these, and I think we see this when we look at Murdoch's 4 functions of the family or Talcott Parsons' irreducible functions. So in different areas where we have lists of sort of key functions, is there's very rarely, I don't think there's ever a time in an essay where you would list these all in one paragraph. That would just be very descriptive. It would be very broad. It would be very knowledge based. You wouldn't get anything really above your AO1 marks. It's about picking these out when they're relevant and bringing them in as evidence, as ways of strengthening your paragraphs. So using them when they're relevant, but also knowing kind of which one to pick, and then citing them as Durkheim's work, so that you're getting those AO2 marks for bringing over something relevant into your essay, you know, using the appropriate piece of theory and the person who said it and bringing that into your essay. And that's where those AO2 marks come from, for showing that application to relevant information. So be careful not to kind of recite these. Sometimes in the exam we really want to show off our knowledge, and you know, that's not the best way to access those higher mark bands. And one other thing to remember here is that actually Durkheim did this huge amount of work on beliefs and was very conclusive about what he noticed. However, there have been other theorists, other researchers who've then disagreed with what he said. So Worsley is a really good example. So if we use Worsley, who in 1956 actually criticised what Durkheim had found out, and Worsley felt that Durkheim had misinterpreted, really, in his studies of the Aboriginal people that he'd used. And what Worsley said was that Durkheim had not only misunderstood the difference between the sacred and the profane, but also that Durkheim had actually misunderstood the use of totems. So that's really nice to throw in as a kind of counterbalance. So you'd get across all of your Durkheim information and it's valid, but then saying, however, this is actually questioned by some other anthropologists and sociologists. So just to bear in mind, to sort of keep that balance in there, it gets you those AO3 marks as well, because you're comparing different perspectives, but also you're saying, you know, I'm able to conduct some critical thinking, I've got a critical viewpoint, knowing that sociology is all about different perspectives and different explanations. So that's Durkheim's 4 functions of religion. Thank you.